Hello, and welcome to the Haunted Book Club with me, Gav Cross. Now, my erstwhile colleague, John Reppion, can't be with us today. Bad news, you've got me. Good news, you've got me and H.G. Wells. That's tonight's story, The Red Room. Now, it will help if you've read or listened to it. So if you're listening to this back, because this gets shared as an audio podcast and on YouTube, stop now. Stop it. Stop it now. Go and listen or read it and then come back. There will be spoilers ahead, but as this story is 130 years old, that is to be expected. What happens is I will be doing a shorter, because I am not the intellect that is John Reppion, a shorter talk about the story, what it's about, where it comes from, and then we open it up to the book clubbers who are here live every Tuesday, every other week. That's going to pause for a couple of weeks, but it's not going to go away. I'll explain everything at the end. Afterwards, we shall have the afterlife. I never publish the conversation that happens then, for good, and as it emerges, potentially legal reasons. So, to get us started, The Red Room by H.G. Wells. Now, I ask a question, and the question is this, for those that have read it or even listened to it. Was this story woohoo? A story that gripped you, that you found scary or creepy or just stayed with you? Or was it boo-hoo? Was it not for you? Didn't quite hit it? Did your head in? Whatever it was. So if you are here live, could you type into the chat woohoo or boo-hoo? So we've got some woohoos coming in, woohoos for Claire, and a woohoo for Jude, and a woohoo, yeah. Oh, we got some fans. Paul, hello, Paul. A woohoo there. A woohoo for Chris. It's a woohoo for me. Well, I picked it. And that's the way it goes, really. You know, I'm not going to pick something I don't like. It's a woohoo from Josie. We can all relax. What I'd like to do, and I'm not going to talk for very long because I could talk for a long time. I'd like to talk a bit about the Red Room, a little bit about H.G. Wells, and then I'd like to open it up to you. So it is held as a classic of its genre. It is held as it appears in so many collections. It's very often studied at GCSE level as an example of its genre. And that genre we can discuss because it is perhaps in the crossroads of literature. More about H.G. Wells, but it has all the hallmarks of a Gothic novel. The old house, the rattling, aged retainers, candles aplenty, ghosts, the lord that died, the lady that went mad, the Red Room. All of these are signifiers of the whole of the Gothic literature movement that had been rattling along for at least 150 years by then, maybe more. And all of those elements, and they're all very visual. For me, I'm a visual reader, definitely. They are very melodramatic in their way. You can imagine them in a terrifying silent movie. You can imagine them in a terrifying adaptation in a Mark Gatiss style. Is very held in very high regard by many writers that came afterwards because of its crossroads that we'll touch on later. Very much held highly by H.P. Lovecraft, and he cites that as a great influence in his own writing. But it's more than that. It's a lot more than that. Spoilers ahead. Of course, it starts with a young man, 8 and 20, 28. Wells was about 30 when he wrote it, possibly younger. A young man in front of old people, aged people. They were probably at least in their late 40s or early 50s. I don't know. But they were, to the young protagonist, they were old, perhaps even a little bit scary and dismissible. He was there because the house had a reputation for hauntings and ghosts, and he was going to confront it. He was going to use a method, an almost scientific method. Now, we know he spent the night, and we know things happened. We know that he got scared. He lit every candle he could. And we know those candles went out one by one. Was it a supernatural force? Was it the old Lord Duke himself? Was it the woman, the lady who went mad? Or was it a draft? Was it the guttering and sputtering of dying candles? The big reveal of this, which made this such a modernist story, is that it took the elements of the Gothic and instead of giving it to an elemental object, a particular ghost, a particular creature, a particular object, the thing that was the most frightening for the narrator was fear itself. That's what, when he was asked at the end. And one of the old retainers, because we meet the three old people that still live in this rambling old castle, and they all look far more ordinary by day to this young man after his experience. And I've copied a quote here. It says, when he asks, what was it? Was it the Duke? No. I told you it was the lady. No. It was fear itself. The room is haunted by fear itself. I knew that was it. A power of darkness. It lurks there always. You can feel it even in the daytime, even in a bright summer's day, in the hangings, in the curtains, keeping behind you however you face about. In the dusk, it creeps along the corridor and follows you, so that you dare not turn. There is fear in that room of hers, black fear, and there will be, so long as this house of sin endures. Now, I don't know if you live in a house of sin, or if you've ever lived in a house of sin. No judgments here. But we all know we've been in buildings that have that atmosphere, that give us the heebie-jeebies. Places, spaces that we feel, that send our amygdala racing, the hairs up on the back of our neck, for whatever reason. Now, perhaps we could, or we should, attribute it to something supernatural. But does this story? Some suggestion that it doesn't. H.G. Wells was a scientist. He was a chemist. He was obsessed with Darwinism. He was obsessed with futurism. Of course, as an author of Things to Come, Time Machine, and my personal favourite, and what's paying my bills slightly, The War of the Worlds. He was a science teacher before he was a writer. But when he found writing, he got good at it. And he got good quick. And he needed to, because he wasn't a rich man. A story has got a lot of elements about wealth, old money. And the modern and the young will always disregard the old. And Wells was like that. He was part of a big movement, modernist writing, scientific progression. But to pay the bills, he wrote journalism, essays, and popular fiction. This story was published in 1896 in a magazine, a periodical called The Idler, which I'm not sure if it's around now, but it was edited. One of those editors at the time was Jerome K. Jerome, he of Three Men in a Boat, he of After Supper Ghost Stories, another show that has paid some of my bills before. This was popular fiction. This was written to be enjoyed. This was written to be shared. This went round the house. to idle away the hours. Popular fiction, and lots of authors with names that we recognise. Rider Haggard, Arthur Conan Doyle, Ambrose Bierce wrote for the Idler. They were entertainments. So this story holds up. I've read some analysis online, and one of the connections I hadn't made was the similarity to The Shining. How somebody turns up in a house that everyone says is haunted. He says, no, it's not, no, it doesn't worry me. No ghost is going to scare me. And then the house possesses Torrance. The house takes Torrance in, like the protagonist of this story. That he goes in all breezy, dead easy, and he leaves with a solid understanding that fear resides in the dark places, and it doesn't matter how many candles you've got because he lights them all. Fear's going to get you. So that's why it's still read, that's why it's still shared, that's why it's still beloved. I mean, I love H.G. Wells. Going to throw in one of our regular themes. Cousins. Another cousin marriage. Several. He lived in a time where the artistic community and the scientific community and the Fabian Society was set up by Edith Nesbit of this parish. They all knew each other. They all enjoyed their time. Red rum, The Shining. Oh, nice, says Chris. I'm a big fan of him. He came from very, very poor background, self-made, created art out of necessity, and became very good at it. Widely known at the time as a journalist, went on to write the speculative fiction, which went on to interview Stalin, went on to write his own reflections on life, the universe and everything, and the future, which sold internationally in magazine form. Obviously, the War of the Worlds made his fortune. And elevated him financially and otherwise. And I find him a fascinating man. I've got my background, obviously, reading over the last couple of years. I've come to find him utterly charming. Obviously, like many of the intellectuals of his days, I mean, we don't push too hard against the door of euthanasia and that kind of business. A man of his time. And The Red Room, one of my favourites. So tell me what you think. Tell me what you thought. What was your responses? What did that context change anything for you? Has it added it? Has it taken it away? Let me know. So there is an Idler magazine, says Chris. Start typing now and we'll have this conversation. But not the same one. No. The Idler, Barry very helpfully adds, was an illustrated monthly magazine published in Great Britain from 1892 to 1911. And I think for the first chunk, to say Jerome K. Jerome was its co-editor. There's a working club in Bradford called Idle Working Men's Club. Yes, that is a place called Idle, though, isn't it? The place is called Idle. They've got members from all over the world. I met somebody from there, yes. When the candle went out in the alcove, it was quite unnerving, says Claire. Satsuma Claire. Something about candles and darkness is unnerving anyway. Maybe because traditional ghost stories all include candles as the main light source at night, and use of words is really evocative there. Yes, of course, and this story is taking all of those elements of ghost stories and not at all parodying them, giving them great respect, but bringing them all in there. I've got to find this. No apologies required, Rachel. What have we got here? I found a great connection to a video game series called Alan Wake. I've heard of it. I don't know it. That explores the theme of darkness and shadow being the villain. Well, absolutely. Darkness and shadow is always the villain. It's the villain of our childhood, isn't it? It's the most haunting thing of our childhood is the dark. It conjures up images for you, yes. And I have to find a different version this. I don't know how. One of the problems I have, it's not really for the recording, is how to find it on. Whilst reading it, I asked Siri what atavistic meant, which then led to a raging argument with Siri, who suggested everything from artistic to autistic, till it finally understood what I was trying to say. What does it mean? What does it mean? My knowledge knows no few limits. Danny, I know a little about lots of pointless things. What drew him to the house in the first place? Was it purely to enter the Red Room? That's what it suggested, that he's the young man who's heard it's a haunted house, that everyone in there, and so he's going to go in and he's going to use methods. There's lots of scientific method refer to throughout the story of how he's going to prove that this is not a haunted house in the traditional sense, and to some degree he does prove that, but he also proves that fear and fear itself is I'm really trying. Yeah. Oh, that's me. There it is. I've got to pick up these messages. So yes, I think he's showing off, isn't he? He's showing off. That's why he's so dismissive of the older people as he goes in. I think lesson learned there is not to argue with Siri. They don't know anything. It did get the disgust of the elderly. Do you consider Siri to be elderly, or are you engaging with elderly yourself? You liked, says Josie, that he brought a gun to fight a ghost. Yes. Yeah. I mean, he was, I say, 28. A fool, a fool. It reminded me a lot, says Chris, of Nigel Neal's story, Birthday Today. Oh, a ghost story that doesn't feature a ghost or a monster, but an emotion embedded in the fabric of the place. Apparently a hugely influential story. I don't know if it's a first of its kind, but certainly very influential. That's what you made a note of too. Yes, good. He's a fool. I think the young man goes on a journey, doesn't he? Because he goes on, oh, I know everything. You're very old. Oh, you're quite disgusting. And all this nonsense about a ghost, I'll prove it wrong. Oh, my goodness. It is terrifying. Oh, you're not so old. You're not so disgusting. There's a tenseness in the writing style, says Claire Satsuma. Yes. And then the squealing violins. It was, again, one of these stories that are incredibly visual. Paints a picture. Atavistic was definitely word of the week. What does it mean? I'm looking it up. It's one of those words where I could probably put it in context. A reversion to ancient primitive behaviors or traits representing a throwback to earlier human or evolutionarily stages. Yeah, he's very dismissive. And again, remember that he's obsessed with Darwinism, H.G. Wells. I like the description of something worse than a ghost, something impalpable. That is a word that Wells, the plosive sounds of P's and B's, those soft, saggy sounds, the sounds that are really impalpable. Say it out loud. People in your house will think you've gone mad. It's a billowing word, isn't it? He uses that word a lot. Palpable in War of the Worlds is a good one to say. Something impalpable, not quite there. I think I looked it up again when I read it and then forgot it again. I have no look. I recorded this story, Claire, and I had to listen to it and read along this evening before I had this conversation because I had virtually no memory of it at all. And that's what's brilliant about these short stories. I don't remember them. Yes. Now, Chris, that's a really important point. You thought the narrator may have joined the rank of the Guardians at the end, but they hadn't even been in the room. Chickens. Chickens? Or do they know their place? Because it was the room of the Duke who fell down the stairs. It was the room of the lady of the house who went mad. But these were the below stairs people. And even in this crumbling old castle, they wouldn't have gone up the stairs to stay in that room. Oh no, they knew their place. And Rachel suggests it is probably a sensible thing to do, yeah. It's somewhat... I have stayed in haunted rooms and houses. Nothing... I'm sorry to say this. It's like a 1970s comedy. I've never had the willies up me in any of those places. I stayed in the Golden Fleece in at York, supposed to be the most haunted, and nothing haunting ever happened. But I've also stayed in places. My job takes me places with that atmosphere. When the back of the neck goes, when there's an impalpable sense, something, something is in the corner. If only I had a candle to light it. When he got knocked out and woke up in the morning, I felt must have been relieved. He didn't have to actually be scared at all all night. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It happened. It went like that. It reminds me of how he describes the Morlocks, the old people. And he was a little bit older when he wrote that, but yeah, yeah. I get you. I get you. I love the time machine. I've got that on the back burner for work. I would like a ghost to try and wake you up. uh, a story there. What would he do? Ooh, ooh, oh, wake her. The old woman, no longer abstracted, no longer terrible. Does this imply she was in the room? I wrote this earlier while listening, and now can't remember why. No, I think it implies that when he met them the night before, perhaps by candlelight, gaslight, or whatever, that their aged face, their lines, the laughter lines of age, the frowns, by a little bit of odd lighting can turn someone rather ferocious. And then by daylight, she's just an old lady. Just an old lady. Or does it reflect that he's been on a journey? It's a reference to Bradford, Barry. I don't know. The reference to this night, I assume that it was the anniversary of the previous events. I don't know. I'm not sure. Let me find that. Try and find the quote that you mean. And go. I've got the text open here. Keep typing. This night of all nights. Ah, yes, yes. Perhaps, perhaps yes. The anniversary of the Duke falling. Um, Josie also tells people that their house is haunted to discourage them from staying. Yes, but is it haunted? Is it haunted? Yes, I think the suggestion there is this is an anniversary night of the Duke's death. Amazing idea from Josie. Gets a celebration there from Rachel. And a sense of foreboding, but with no explanation. And again, that's the Gothic, isn't it? All of these, I can't remember if there's anything that's particularly like weather led, but all of these are classic setups. The aged retainers, the candles, the shadows, the going up the stairs, the reputed mad ghost or the dead duke. All of these are hard and fast Gothic elements to add to a haunting. Chris, well, the famous cutscene in Ghostbusters. That's who's referring. Chris is saying a ghost waking him up. Well, there's that scene in Ghostbusters when Dan Aykroyd. ... Oh, maybe not. You're gonna have to look that up yourself. You're gonna have to look that. I mean, this is a 12 plus, but I mean it's borderline 15. Chris. Um, So got a little business. Let's do a little bit of business as we also do. I want you to think about this. We are we've reduced this down, we boil it down. Rachel says it will be interesting to know if the room or house is based upon an actual place similar to Nesbitt's story. Um, what do you think? Yeah, it's based on Josie's house. Yeah. What do you think? I don't know, even from reading. There's no reference to it. It's not based on a real castle, as far as I can see. I don't think it matters. I think he sat down and to write the most ghostliest of ghostly places that he can, approach it in a scientific manner, and then strip out the supernatural whilst retaining the fearful. I think is an exercise in writing the Gothic and then stripping out the ghost. What do you think? But like most writers, he's probably picturing somewhere, but there isn't any reference in my research to a particular place. He didn't live in a mansion. You can see the houses he lived in. He lived in relatively big houses, but not at this stage. He was living in a Victorian semi with his cousin, I think. It's just so well written for a man without much money of an upper class house. Yeah, but he had upper class friends. At this time, he was mucking. He had a good house at this time because he'd been writing a lot of journalism. But it was a Victorian semi in Woking. But Wells hung around with people with big houses, like Edith Nesbit. Edith Nesbit had a big house, 3 or 4 stories up. It wasn't a castle, but it was a big Georgian house. In your head, says Claire, it was a Warwick castle. It's definitely something crumbling. To me, it's one of those houses that are referred to as castles, but they're probably big Elizabethan or Tudor buildings with bits added on, like Norton, perhaps like the Georgian house in Norton, bits added onto it. But yeah, there's definitely that sense of the crumbling, the sense of the spiral staircases, the side staircases. It's a house that's been reduced. It's a house of sin. Remember, it's a house that people aren't living in. Maybe the family has faded, and maybe it's faded generational wealth, and is empty. But I think it was an exercise in archetypes. I think it's a really good one to look at, to think, what do I need to put in? What do I need to put in to make this utterly the most ghost story of all ghost stories? And then how obviously he's clever enough to twist it. It was breezy in there. It's very drafty. These old houses. Very, very drafty. Yeah. It's drafts upon drafts. Okay, so let's do some business. And the business is first of all, was this a new story to you? Is this new? Has anybody come across it? I've read it before, and you've probably read it to a couple of you. And do you have any questions left about it? Because I like the fact that we're all answering each other's questions about it. While you're typing that, also think about this. We're going to classify it. What do you think, and how do you think it's classified? Is it a classic ghost story? Or is it a haunted house or a place? Is it a physical creature? Is it a cursed or a haunted object or place? Is it weird fiction? Is it something demonic or otherworldly? Is it something of the psychic, of the spiritualist about it? Or is it not necessarily paranormal? A suggestion of an unreliable narrator. Oh, I'm glad, Linny. Can I ask you, if you're on Substack, to follow Linny? She's a brilliant writer. I found the second book, which I'd lost. It was in a bag. I'm gonna have to finish that. It's so good. Outpost 9. Yeah, ADHD. Please follow Linny and the journey that they're on in their writing, and because you're gonna get in. There's a Tell Me Your Story that I had with Linny. You can find out more about it. You'll love the books. I promise you. I do, and I can't wait to see the film. There's no film planned, but there will be. New to you, says Clear. I'm still not a believer of ghosts. Neither am I. So I have to suspend my frustration of why people put themselves in these daft situations. Yes. This, for me, was the most sinister so far. That's a good word. It is sinister. Human with a shade in his sunglasses or a parasol. Question I had about the first. The man with the shade. I had about the first scene. I don't know. And let me have a look. I'm going to search for shade. Let's have a look at it. His eyes were covered by a shade. And his lower, I don't know, his hat, a hat. He supported himself by the help of a crutch. His eyes were covered by a shade, and his lower lip, half averted, hung pale and pink from his decaying yellow teeth. He made straight for an armchair on the opposite side of the table, sat down clumsily, and began to cough. Is it like a cap? Like a cap? The coughing man at the start had a shade. That's it, yeah. I don't see it as a ghost story, says Paul, but a gothic horror with a serving of hubris. Oh, that is a very good summary. That is a very good summary. I think you're right. for me the same. It starts out as a gothic ghost story, ends up in an essay on yes, hubris, but also that one of the elements of living is to be frightened. It's the fear we carry, the primal fear, the fear of the dark, the fear of the dark corners, the atavistic amygdala that returns us to our frightened selves of the cave dwellers. No, I don't understand. I think it's a big at. I agree with you. There's a neon sun visor in my head. Yeah, he's just come back from Magaluf. Also, a haunted house, a sentient house. In fact, do you think it was a sentient haunted house? I would possibly go with that as well. I think it was a classic haunted house without the classic ghost. I think it was a classic haunted house without the classic ghost. It was raw. Right, now we're going to reduce it even further. We're going to score it. And our scoring system is out of 5. And we have 3 scores. I'd like to score it out of 5 for its scare factor. A scare factor. Okay? How scary was it out of 5? Perhaps as you were reading or listening to it. The creep factor out of 5. How much was it running up the back of your neck? Not necessarily frightening you, but putting you on the edge of your seat. And how satisfying was it out of 5? Did it linger with you? Did you have to go back? Did the final couple of paragraphs need a clarification of a return? Did it stick with you? Did you want to find out more? So, how scary was it? How creepy was it? And how satisfying was it? Those are the 3 elements that we're asking you to think about. So, what have we got? Oh, it's coming in high. Barry's gone for pie. Not sure what to class this as, says Chris. It's not a demon or a ghost, but maybe an imprint. Stone tape theory. Another conversation. Don't like the idea of a sentient house. Classic though, isn't it? Say Shining, Nigel Neal, Manuke. I can thoroughly recommend that. Of course, it was ripped off as a poltergeist. Annie says 4. Is that 4 across the board? 3.5 for Barry. Claire says 4. A scare factor 5, says Claire Satsuma. Claire Pitt comes with creep factor 4. Annie says 4. She's got 4 4s for Annie. 4 across the board. Creep factor 5, says Claire Satsuma. So that's 2 5s in a row. 4.214, says Barry, for the creep factor. 445, high scores there. Claire Pitt, very satisfied with a 5. Jude, not so scared. Did find it creepy, but found it very satisfactory. Rachel, 4 for scary, 5 for creepy, 6 for satisfying. This is good. Josie, 3 for scary, creepy, 4, satisfying, 5. 445 says Claire. 4.378 says Barry. Thank you, Barry. 554, 44. This is great. So I think it's a 444 across the board. I think, all the 4s, 444. Because I would say this one didn't scare me. For the high score, definitely creeped me out. I'd go 5, and I find it incredibly satisfactory myself. Another 5. Okie dokie. Oh, I'm glad you loved it, because I love H.G. Wells. His short ghost stories are very readable, very, very readable. Also, Ascension House is also the plot of Encanto. Definitely a different feel to this story. Maybe it was Bruno. We don't talk about Bruno. One of your favourite lines, says Chris, was, "The very existence, thought I, is spectral. The cut of their clothes, fashions born in dead brains." It's a great line, isn't it? But that's the young hating on the old. And as an old person now, I can see it in the young's faces every time I see them. By Jove. It's a good line. Yes, H.G. Wells's short stories. If you're so inquired, I'm performing H.G. Wells's The War of the Worlds on Saturday, getting a plug in Tarvin. Jodrell Bank is sold out, but I'm also performing it in Coatbrook, which is in the middle of a very creepy village. No offence, Coatbrook, in the middle of Cheshire. Um, I recommend his books highly, particularly his audiobooks. I think they one of those categories of books that really work when someone's reading it to you. Thank you for the Jodrell sellout. Yeah, 180. I'm paid a fee, so it doesn't make a difference to me, but that's great. Right, going back to the business. We've categorized it. Right, what's happening? What's coming up? So this will be the last of this format of the Haunted Book Club for a couple of weeks. Um, lovely John Reppion has got some projects and some things come up. So Haunted Book Club in this model is on pause. What's going to happen is, though, and I'd love you to join me, is that on a Tuesday at 9 o'clock, I'm going to be here and I'm going to read a story. And then rather than do a big research, have a chat about it. So it's using the banner Fantastic Stories because Haunted Book Club isn't Haunted Book Club without John, but we wanted to complete this one. He will be back in a couple of weeks' time. More details, but I'll be back here Tuesday at 9 o'clock, where I will read you a story live, and maybe we can have a chat about it afterwards. But there'll be no in-depth research; it will just be a live reading. So bring a hot toddy and a blanket, and I'll read it to you, and then the Haunted Book Club will return. So yes, a weekly story time at 9 o'clock. Then. So we've put another show on sale, which is the Blooming Skull Coffee in Bebington, just next to the station. And I miss John already. Yes, I miss John. He sends his regards and love. He's still around. So that's gone on sale. The Portico Library is coming up. That's going to be that the room. Talk about atmosphere. That place has got atmosphere. And next Tuesday, I will have a link for a free gig for that June gig, which is going to take place in Wavertree. We're going to meet in a pub across the road. We're going to go over to the Wavertree lockup stroke cholera victim keep, and we're going to try and live Haunted Book Club from within an 18th century brick building with a hexagonal brick building. So that will be an exciting one, a free show for reasons, because we get the place free. Just saw the online War of the Worlds tripod statue in Woking. It is nice. I want to get down there. Yes, and he worked in the Portico Library a long time ago. How long? It's been open for 220 years. I'm excited for the Portico. It's going to be great, and excited for the wave. And I'm going to offer it here. There'll be a link next week. It'll be on Eventbrite. If you want to go to the Haunted Book Club on my link tree, I have an Eventbrite category now. You can follow it, and you'll get a notification. It won't be public, and I'll share the link here next Tuesday, or in the if you remember the Haunted Book Club Facebook group, I'll pop it in there. All right, but that one will be free. Only 35 years ago, just yesterday. So we're going to draw this to a close. I'm going to stay here for a little bit if people would like to stay for the afterlive, but you only get to join in with that if you join us live on a Tuesday, 9 p.m. on Substack. So going to give a little bit of a wave here. If you're watching this is my edit point. Thank you very much for joining in with our conversation about the Red Room. Book clubbers, I enjoy your insights and your thinking. You're very smart people.